Hello, everyone. This is Backyard Musings, broadcasting live from the Double Wide in Apple Valley. I am Steve.
And I'm Scott.
Today, we're continuing our segment on signs of the times. Yesterday, we talked about the total solar eclipse coming up on April 8th and the comet Pons-Brooks. And now we're digging into the scriptures a little bit to find out the signs of the times. So the first one we're looking at, Matthew 24:36. But of that day and hour knoweth no man, no, not the angels of heaven, but my Father only. And 2 Peter 3:10, but the day of the Lord will come as a thief in the night. So you got to be prepared like the 6 virgins who had oil, right?
Absolutely.
And here we come to the meat. Matthew 16:4, O ye hypocrites, ye can discern the face of the sky, but can ye discern the signs of the times? Well, the first one that the Savior talked about in 24:6 was, and ye shall hear of wars. Pretty much 24:6 has a lot of the stuff in it. And this was the first one. You shall hear of wars. So, in the last 223 years, we have had many major conflicts, right?
Absolutely.
Today, we're going to start with major conflicts in the 19th century, which is 1800 to 1899. And keep in mind, the American Revolution was concluded in 1787. It's really close to 1800. And then the French Revolution was like 1800, right?
Yeah, 1812, right? Battle of 1812? Is that what it was?
No, the War of 1812.
Or War of 1812.
Us in England.
Gotcha.
But the French Revolution, all the heads
Oh, that's
guillotine.
right. Yeah.
So we're just looking at 19th century. And I'm going to tell you, tomorrow when we do the 20th century, it's staggering. It's almost doubled, if not tripled, the amount of major conflicts in the world, especially civil wars. Okay, let's go. Europe. The Napoleonic Wars, 1803 to 1815, involved a coalition of European powers against the French Empire. The wars significantly shaped Europe's political landscape. The War of 1812, from 1812 to 1815, was England's attempt to regain dominance over the colonies, right? So we're talking about Europe. Now we're going to talk about North America. The American Civil War, 1861 to 1865, was the election of Lincoln provoked the legislature of South Carolina to call a state convention to consider secession. Before the war, South Carolina did more than any other southern state to advance the notion that a state had the right to nullify federal laws and even secede from the United States. So what's happening today? Hawaii? They're saying they're not going to follow the Supreme Court's ruling on guns, Second Amendment, because it violates the spirit of aloha. But they seem to forget that back in the day they had clubs with shark teeth that they just rip into their enemy's skin.
Yeah,
I guess that's aloha.
There may still be a few of those out there.
I've got the weapons in here. My collection. I've got a nice collection of that. And then Utah is trying to pass some laws in contravention to the Constitution. Utah is doing it. I wish I had the more research so I could tell you. But I remember it popped up.
That.
It popped up when I was looking at Hawaii. So here we go. Spirit of Aloha. Okay, Asia. I didn't know this. The Taiping Rebellion, 1850 to 1864. A radical political and religious upheaval that was probably the most important event in China in the 19th century. It lasted for 17 years, ravaged 17 provinces, took an estimated 20 million lives. Back then, that's a lot.
That's amazing.
It's bloody. It irrevocably altered the Qing dynasty. The Qing dynasty was from 1644 to 1911. So there was like a pivot in the 19th century because it altered it, right? It was the precursor to the Chinese Revolution in 1940. Actually, the Chinese Revolution started before, we'll see that tomorrow, before World War II, and then they paused when Japan attacked China, and then they continued it after World War II. We'll see that tomorrow. I didn't know this now. Latin America, the Paraguayan War, also known as the War of the Triple Alliance, was a South American conflict that raged from 1864 to 1870. This war pitted Paraguay against the Triple Alliance, which consisted of Argentina, the Empire of Brazil, and Uruguay. It stands as the deadliest and bloodiest interstate war in Latin America history. I didn't know
that. May be why some of those countries don't have, there's no love lost there between those countries.
Yeah.
It still drags on.
Yeah. So Africa, I kind of knew about this. Africa, yeah. The Anglo-Zulu War was fought in 1879 between the British Empire and the Zulu Kingdom, encompassing, so that's 2 kingdoms. Britain is a kingdom, remember? Kingdom against kingdom, nation against nation, right? encompassing the African kingdoms, tribal areas, and Boer republics into South Africa. The war had several particularly bloody battles, including an open victory of the Zulu at the Battle of Islandwana, followed by the defense of Rorke's Drift by a small British garrison from an attack by a large Zulu force. Now, if you are retired Army officer, your Army officer right now, you would have had to, it was mandatory reading,
Studied
Defense
that.
of Duffer's Drift.
Studied that.
So, Rorke's Drift by a small British garrison from an attack by a large Zulu force. The British eventually won the war, ending Zulu dominance of the region. And I didn't know about this. Australia, Oceania. The Australian frontier wars were a series of conflicts and events that happened in the first 140 years of settlement in Australia, right? So remember, Australia was peopled by criminals from Britain. They just took them down there,
Yeah.
down under, right? And then
Right.
the natives didn't like that. So there was some fights, with the First Nation people. So the conflict began in 1788 and lasted until the 1930s. The front, it's kind of like our, fighting the Indians here, when the Indians would attack settlers. Kind of like that, but for a long time. The Maori probably didn't want to give up.
140 years.
Yeah. So the frontier wars refer to the conflict between European colonists and First Nations people, which resulted in Australia's first wars and was a violent history that included organized battles and open massacres. Sounds like our, frontier wars, right? So there are a lot of, there was some major conflicts in the 19th century, but the 20th is even more bloody. And this is leading up, I think, to these are the signs of the times. And these conflicts are not going to end, right? In the 21st century, we've got Russia invading Ukraine and rumors of war of Russia, like you said earlier, Russia wanting to go into other countries.
Rebuild the Union.
Rebuild the Soviet Union or Russian Empire, whatever it was. They call Ukraine Little Russia. That's what Putin called it, Little Russia. And back then it was all part of Russia.
Yep.
When
Soviet Union.
When
Yeah.
the Russian
Poland.
Civil War happened,
Right. Yeah.
they considered
countries.
Kiev Russia.
Yeah.
So you're going to see a staggering amount tomorrow. We appreciate you joining us today. If you have any comments, please send them our way. We'll take them. And please be polite when you make the comments. And also, if you liked what you saw, hit subscribe. Tell your family, tell your friends, tell your enemies to come check us out. We appreciate it. Thanks a lot and have a great day.
Have a good one. Thank you.